Bob, you're next.
Yeah, strap in, David.
Yeah.
I once made a decision in a caravan park at midnight that I soon came to deeply regret.
Oh, God. Right, OK. What decision did you come to at midnight in a caravan park?
Well, as I always say, David, it's a long time ago. So my memory's a bit... It's like trying to locate a rabbit's tear in a petrol spill.
Yeah.
Not easy.
Is it going to be the sort of distant remembrance that could be mistaken for invention?
That's
Or
the
it would
one.
be indistinguishable, the two forms of brain activity. They'd look identical.
They can do, yes.
Yes.
But they taste different.
Where was the caravan park?
In Hartlepool, Crimden Dean, which
Well, we
is
know what the decision was that you regretted.
Yeah, on the beautiful coast at Hartlepool, Crimden Dean, static caravans, you know the ones...
Yes.
They look like porter cabins.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that appealed to us when we saw the brochure.
Who were you there with?
I was there with my friends. This would be, I would say, 1975-ish, because I was with Cags and Harry Harriman and Buttery Ken, who, of course, was named that because his dad worked at a dairy farm. So it wasn't just random.
So, was you out dancing, raving before the decision was made?
No, it was bingo.
No,
and,
bingo.
And reruns of the horse racing. We'd been to the social club.
Yes.
Was this all of you now? You said Harry Harriman was there and Buttery Ken.
I think there were 6 of us.
Well, who were the others?
The other ones. Slow Colin was there.
Slow Colin?
Yes.
Why was he called Slow Colin?
Well, why do you think,
Well-
mate? He was very slow.
He's
in his
physically
movement,
slow.
physically slow.
Right, OK.
Yeah. And still Barry.
Wow. After all these years, he's still called Barry. Is that how he got the nickname? He didn't have anything about him. He went, what can we call him? Well, he's still called Barry. Let's call him Still Barry.
So, yeah, 6 of us with our flares and...
OK, so all those people were there, and we've definitely given you enough time now to remember the thing that you regretted.
Well, on my way back from social club, I was dragged away from my friends by an old woman. Probably only about 40, but old to me then. And she thrust me up against a static caravan.
Hang on.
Right.
And I said, come and help us, Slow Colin. Will anybody help me? And she started to kiss me.
Kiss?
And I noticed that next to us was, you know, the Calagas
Yeah.
canisters. So, snog in, spot them, realise it's a safety issue, push her away.
It was that hot a kiss. So you disengaged.
Disengaged and went away, and the important point is she shouted at me words similar to, my husband, my fella, is going to kill you.
Wow.
But I went back to the caravan and I said to me mates, there's a bloke's going to kill us.
Oh, us? That was kind of it.
You're all included.
Us?
So, we were very scared young
Yeah.
boys, and so we
Yeah.
decided we had to get out of there.
Yeah.
So we decided to walk the 26 miles to Newcastle to watch the movie of the rock opera Tommy by who? The Who.
That's not a quiz question. It was by The Who.
By The Who.
So 26-mile walk. When did you envisage arriving in Newcastle? And what screening of Tommy were you aiming for?
We set off at midnight. It was dark. The moon hadn't been attached to mains power by that point. Slow progress, because, of course, we had our flares on, which acted like sails, trying to get through.
Yeah.
I had Slow Colin with you anyway.
And still Barry, who doesn't move at all.
But, Bob, which bit of this decision do you regret?
I'm not even there yet.
Oh.
I'm so sorry.
All of this for nothing?
I can end it quick if
So,
you
no,
want.
no, no.
Is that what you said to her?
No.
So we got there, I'm thinking round about 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning.
Having been walking all night.
All night.
OK.
Isn't that incredible?
What happened next?
So this is old-fashioned ABC cinema, and I don't know if you remember, they'd often have the fire exits out onto the street.
Yeah.
One of them was open. We crept in, and we went to sleep between the seats, waiting for the film to come on. And, you know, I think we deserved the sleep, and I ain't going to apologise for it.
OK. What do you regret, then?
We didn't see the film. That's the regret.
So, what's it going to be, then? Could that be true?
Well, David, all I'll say is, when I heard Bob read the card, he said at midnight he made a regrettable decision.
Yeah.
But the cinema was in the morning. You said it was a 7 or 8.
According to this story, the
that's 10
regrettable
hours
decision
later.
was made at about 10:30 a.m.
No. The decision to go and see the film was made at midnight. And
Oh, you regret not seeing the film. You don't regret the decision to see the film.
I suppose you're right, David, yeah. I know I regret something.
It's the walk for me.
Yeah.
When it started getting to the day, why didn't you hop on a train
Maybe
or a bus?
because the only money we had. But maybe not.
I don't see where the gas canisters came into it.
Yeah.
I suppose there's part of me that wonders whether, as Bob mentioned the gas canisters, he wasn't quite sure how the story was going to go. Yeah. And he thought, I'm going to mention the gas canister, see if I'm going to use that. No, I'm not. And obviously this could be remembering, but it could be thinking it up.
Lie, for sure.
You think for sure? Well,
sure.
let me just pick you up on the phrase "for sure," because I promise you it is not certain. From anyone else, that story is completely unbelievable.
What's unbelievable about what are you not believing?
You're not traumatised like me by Bob's appearances on this show. So you're just quite simply, you're just listening to what he's saying. Clearly, that's not the sort of thing that happens to people. So you're just happy to say lie.
Yeah.
OK, that's
Yeah.
fine.
It's not as easy for you, though, is it?
It isn't as easy because he does his own dentistry in a chair he balances on his kitchen island, which I would say is less plausible than this story about walking to see Tommy. We're going to say lie. We're going to say lie.
No.
And then, certainly in one of the infinite number of universes, Bob is going to go, no, it's true. And then what's going to happen to me?
Well, are you all right?
I don't think so, no.
Let's find out.
And do you know, I'm surprised that no one on the production has asked that earlier in this process.
So you're saying it's a lie?
Yes, I'm saying it's a lie.
OK,
And may I add, it had better be one.
Right, Bob, this is a big moment. What you've just told us,
Yes.
was it true or, as David thinks, was it a lie?
I was telling the truth.
I am not OK.
So please welcome this week's special guest, Steve. So, Alice, what is Steve to you?
This is Steve, and for over 17 years, we have been having an argument about a courgette.
Bob, how do you know Steve?
This is Steve, and I won his appendix off him in a bet.
And finally, Lee, your relationship with Steve.
This is Steve. He landed his helicopter to tell me off because he saw me shushing him whilst he was in the sky.
All right, there we have it. David's team, where will you begin?
This courgette row, Alice, what's it about?
It's about a nuance of horticulture, which is essentially, is a courgette a small version of a marrow, or could they possibly be two separate species?
And how long has this argument been going on for?
17 years.
So when did this argument first start popping off?
17 years ago.
OK, give me the context.
How did you know each other?
We'd known each other for a while because Steve was going out with one of my friends.
OK.
We were on holiday together, and this argument just sort of took over everything.
Was alcohol involved?
Might have been.
It's easier to have long arguments about things that don't really matter if you're drunk.
We've done 16 series of this.
It's also easier if you're paid.
Which side of it are you on? What is your belief?
Originally, I was pretty sure that a marrow was just a large courgette.
But don't you work with bones?
I work with archaeological human remains.
So surely you'd know more about bone marrows, no?
Well, I'm sorry, I don't know what they want if not that.
If the courgette becomes a marrow, which I was always led to believe, when does it become a marrow and when is it a courgette? There must be a perfect time when it's half and half.
There must be, but you never see it.
You see, that is what the billionaires eat. Because there's only a millisecond when it lies between the two, and you have to have people watching all night, ready to freeze it at the point, and then they will dine for hours, or they call it margette.
How can a disagreement of this nature become heated?
Yes. What is there to say?
That is very marrow-minded.
Well, then you keep on arguing about the colour, the morphology, the shape of the fruit.
Maybe I'm missing a point here. Can you not just look it up in a book?
It's a very fair question.
Okay, go. I didn't have a smartphone in 2005.
But since then, you've probably purchased one at some point. Why didn't you look it up?
Because it doesn't seem like the sort of thing which is important.
Who would you like to quiz next?
Bob.
Bob, just remind us of your statement.
This is Steve, who I won his appendix from him in a bet.
Right.
So, go on, do it to me.
I'm not willing to give you any information unless you ask for it.
You're making me ask.
Yes.
You're making me come to you cap in hand.
Yes.
And going, fill this with your nonsense. Fill this with whatever corrupted balderdash comes out of you, and then I will put it on my head.
And set fire to it. No.
So how do you know him?
We were both members of what's called the Middlesbrough Supporters South Club, and we watched the occasional football matches together as Middlesbrough supporters in London.
So you'd go to a pub and watch...
Yeah, usually the same pub, the Wheatsheaf in Borough.
That sounds plausible as a pub. I bet that exists. Can we just stay with that? OK. And one day, you're there watching the... Is this when the bet is
Funnily enough, no.
Right.
The match had finished. We stayed around for a booze, and me, Steve, and a couple of other lads. We went back to not Steve's house, but one of our fellow Middlesbrough supporters who lives in Lant Street, just beyond the Wheatsheaf.
How does the bet come about?
We played darts.
All right.
We played darts for
That's
months.
nice. People leave the pub, go home, play darts. Yeah.
And then the duvet was a great big bar towel. Just...
They still have bar towels. They're more like metal grids now.
Yeah, they've gridded them up.
They've gridded them up and raised them.
It's all preparing for A1 to take over. AI, sorry.
A1!
Did you think that film with Will Smith was called A1?
So, Bob, I have had my appendix removed.
Me too.
And the only reason I knew I needed it removed is because suddenly, in a fit of pain, it started to proper bubble up. So how can Steve now bet his appendix unless it's the day that it starts throbbing?
He had it out as a child, and it was in a jar with a little red top. And they come out red, but over the years, it had turned yellow. And I thought that was a very nice transition. Colour red to yellow.
And when it finally goes green, you're allowed to go, aren't you?
How does the bet come about?
The bet comes about because I won, and I think it was quite a lot of money, 50 quid or whatever, Steve wanted a final game. I didn't want a game, so I demanded if I win, I take your appendix.
Right.
It's on the shelf with some wisdom teeth.
But why is his appendix there?
Ask Steve.
As you well know, I'm not allowed to ask Steve.
No, but
you're not in Steve's flat, are you?
no.
You've come to this flat straight from the pub.
Yes. No, I realised. No, I realised that.
Yes.
Yes.
He just brought it with him to the game.
Oh, did I say it wasn't Steve's flat?
Yes, you did say it wasn't
No,
Steve's.
it was Steve's flat in Lant Street. I do
I
apologise.
mean, you definitely said it wasn't Steve's flat.
Well, then I'm a fool and I'm ashamed.
He's trying to weigh up the odds here. Did I accidentally say the wrong name, or did he bring all bits of his body to the game and put them on the mantelpiece? And he's very wisely gone for the wrong name.
It was Steve's flat.
Yeah.
Suddenly. And so the various body parts are on the shelf already. And you win both his wisdom teeth and his appendix.
Just the appendix.
Oh, you left the teeth.
Yeah, I didn't fancy them, so...
Yeah.
Oh, I had my wisdom teeth out the other day.
Did you?
The other day.
You probably did that yourself in the kitchen.
All right. What about
OK,
Lee?
so Lee,
Yeah.
remind us of your
This
name.
is Steve, and he landed his helicopter to tell me off after he saw me shushing him whilst he was in the sky.
Where were you?
Yeah.
I was in a field in Surrey. I was bird watching.
You were bird watching in a field in Surrey.
Were you there?
Can you describe your immediate surroundings as you were bird watching?
Well, it was me. It was my wife,
Yeah.
my children. They were around me.
Were you sort of hiding behind a hedge?
We
What-
were sort of crouching behind. I think, if I remember rightly, I said, "Lo, is that a magpie?" And so we ducked down.
Oh, magpie, because that's a rare spot. Isn't it? That's worth the journey.
If you let me finish, David.
OK.
Is that a magpie? If it is, let's not bother. Wait. Actually, I think it's a woodpecker.
You saw a woodpecker.
Yes, I heard it first.
You heard it. Great.
Can someone answer the door? I'm looking at the corner sin.
When did you develop this new interest?
Well, we had a bird bath in the garden, and I just got addicted. It's the only word, addicted to looking at those little creatures. Amazed. They're like mice with wings, aren't they, small birds? Yeah. But with no tails. Or ears.
OK.
Or teeth.
I'm telling you that
Or legs.
Lee, it's been fascinating.
They're nothing like mice, are they?
Some birds have legs.
So far, you haven't mentioned how Steve, the pilot, came into this.
We're ticking them off. That's what you do when you're a twitcher. You tick them off, and then I hear it. Him in his helicopter, innit?
Oh.
He's only a policeman looking for a criminal on the run.
Oh, really?
That's why he's so low. But then he stops. He goes a bit lower. Why does he go lower? He sees a man hiding in the bush. That's why I go. Well, he's not happy. Goes straight down like that and he lands.
OK. What's in the field that he's
A helicopter now.
No, but what was there before?
No helicopter, just grass.
So how did he see you in a bush?
Because he is a policeman and they have specialist equipment to search for people. Have you ever watched the Channel 5 documentary? Everything goes green. But only at night. But they've got a day set in these machines.
So he spotted you and your family...
No, just spotted me at first.
Using a thermal camera. Your children didn't show up on the
No.
thermal camera.
I said to them, I told you to wear a coat.
So Steve gets out of the helicopter...
Yes. Approaches me.
And says what?
He says... So you're going to have to turn it off first, mate. I can't hear a word you're saying.
Yeah. OK. What does Steve say?
He said, you toe rag.
Steve, honestly. This is not how they should be treating, may I say, national treasures. And how does the conversation end?
I said, oh, you want to go straight to the end? Bye.
Well, I don't know. How long is it?
But there was more conversation. He said, listen, we're on police duty here. We're looking for a major criminal, OK? We had to swoop low. The person in question, David, had killed 2 people. It's not funny now, is it?
All right, we need an answer. So, is Steve Alice's bickering buddy, Bob's luckless loser, or Lee's furious flyer?
I don't think that helicopter pilots notice people shushing them.
No.
Yeah, also Lee wouldn't go bird watching as well.
Yeah.
But what about Bob?
Bob, he tripped over his own details.
If you're basing your decision on my mistake over the flat, I advise you strongly against that.
You can see what he's doing, can't you? Even though, apparently, we've totally caught him out. We've totally caught him out. And he said it was someone else's flat and the appendix was there. Should be it. Game, set and match. But, oh, no. What if he did that deliberately? What if, oh, my mistake. Yes, of course it was Steve's flat. Oh, dear me. Head in hands. And that's just luring me in. Isn't it? Like when the Norman soldiers pretended to run away and the Saxons came off the hill and then they turned and they cut them down.
I think, David, you should actually sit this one out because you are traumatised.
Thank you. I will take a bit of a sabbatical.
Yeah.
We've ruled out Lee. Now you 2 decide between the other 2.
I like the way you did that. It's completely up to you 2, but not Lee.
Not Lee, it's not Lee. Yeah.
If you're on holiday, are you going to be having an argument for 2 hours over a courgette?
Academics, that's the kind of thing they argue about, you know?
That's true.
That is like proper full-on banter to them.
Yeah, that is true.
So, David, I can rest assured it is Alice.
I think it's the courgette.
I can rest assured.
Yeah?
Yeah.
David?
He's worrying me again.
Listen,
I don't know. I think I don't know, actually. I think
you're
it's Bob.
falling for it.
It's
He's
Bob.
affecting her
It's
now.
actually Bob. It's you, Bob. It's Bob.
OK, it's time to decide.
Well, I mean... OK.
I think this could break him.
I do think Steve looks like someone who could have a 17-year row about the genetic makeup of a vegetable.
So you're going to say it's Alice,
That's
then,
what
yes?
I'm going to say. Yeah, we're going with that. That's what we're going with.
Steve, would you please reveal your true identity?
I'm Steve, and Alice and I have been arguing about courgette for 17 years.
Yes, Steve is Alice's bickering buddy. Thank you very much, Steve.
On a dark winter's night, I once broke into the garden of the local witch's house and was shocked by what I found there.
David, Steve.
OK, at what point...
There's a lot of questions, isn't there?
At what point in your life did this happen?
I'm going to guess somewhere between when I was 11 and 13.
12?
I'm going to say 12.
And you say the local witch's house. What do you mean by that?
I mean, this is a very distant memory now.
OK.
It was the house not very far from me where all the kids said that the witch lived.
And who did live there?
I don't know their name.
Right.
I'll call them Mary Candles. It had hedges at the front, you know, it's like uncut hedges, a front gate covered with hedging, and it said on the front gate, it said simply the words, "No thanks."
No, really?
So that's quite creepy, isn't it?
Can I ask a question? You started that with saying you were shocked by what you saw there.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, so shocked by what I found there.
So what did you find there?
I'm not comfortable with telling you that just yet. Sorry, I'm not.
This is going so far, it's got to be a lie, isn't it?
Let me just say, it does not have to be a lie. Whatever he says, however absurd, it could still be true. However plausible, it could still be a lie. It's just, essentially, what we are doing for this section is entirely futile. We will talk for a bit, then we will guess, then it will be over.
So how did you come to go into this house? Who were you with?
I was with, what's he called? I was with Ken Numbers. I changed it, yeah. Yeah, Ronnie Calculator's son. The vibe is it's very unkempt, it's the gardening, because as we all know, Lee, yeah, witches hate gardening, wizards hate plumbing. Right. So we knew it was a female residence.
Right. So you've never seen Mary Candles, but you were only speculating it must be a witch rather than a wizard because it was an unkempt garden with no sign of deficient plumbing.
Exactly. And, you know, we wanted to be the first people who said, no, we penetrated, you know, its boundaries.
Yeah.
We went into the front lawn, down a gate to the side, past the bins, past the back door, yeah? And then to the window where there was a light on, a big picture window, looked inside, and that's when we saw this extraordinary sight. Well, extraordinary to us as 12-year-olds.
What was it? You've got to say.
It was a tiny, tiny horse. And I'm not saying it was watching television, that was all that was in the room, was a tiny horse and a television on. I did get in the house.
You got in the house?
Yes, Mrs. Candles came out.
Right.
Yes, and she said to me, you're one of the Mortimer boys, aren't you?
Were you?
Yeah. So Ken said. And she said, would you like to come in and see the horse? And she took us in, and it stank of paraffin. It was hot.
That's horse?
Hot. No, well, the house...
I thought the horse stunk of paraffin.
The horse did stink, actually.
Did he?
Yeah.
Of?
Meat, hot meat. As we were looking at the horse, I always remember this, she came in, and she had a toilet seat in her hand. And she said, if I gave you some money, do you think you could get rid of this for me?
What did you do with it?
Just threw it on our way home, just threw it somewhere else, I imagine.
Did she say what the horse's name was?
Max.
Yes. You'd have thought minimum.
All right, well, now, Suggs, what are you thinking about this?
I mean, you know, it's so preposterous, but David's flung me by saying this is the way it carries on anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, same.
I mean, but no, I'm saying lie, of course.
You say it's a lie.
It was when you said the horse smelt like hot meat.
Well, do you remember the detail of the paraffin heaters?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
We're talking 40, maybe 50 degrees there with those old...
40 or 50 degrees centigrade. So we're talking like the temperature of the desert in Saudi Arabia.
Did you ever see Mary Candles again?
No, never.
Never saw her again?
Never saw her again.
She probably melted in that heat.
All right, what are you going to say then, David?
Do we think lie?
I think it's a lie. I think it's a lie.
I think it is a lie.
All right, they're saying it's a lie. Now, we should bear in mind that when it comes to Bob, David has a very poor track record. Let's see if he can be better tonight. Bob, truth or lie?
I was telling the truth.
It's true. Bob really did break into a creepy garden.
I once masterminded a daring heist on a campsite tuck shop.
David's team.
OK. Where was the campsite?
Hexham.
What did you steal? What did you take?
Jay, my memories of this are quite vague. I was only 15.
OK.
15.
You must still remember what you took,
Yes,
though,
but it's like picking bits of pollen off a mouse's handkerchief. So don't get all forensic on me.
Don't start asking him any questions, all right? Just make your decision and move on.
We were invited to just believe him.
Just tell us what you do remember, Bob.
Not in general, about this story.
I remember...
I remember me and Jean. She was lovely.
My teeth fell out.
You remember that, don't you?
My teeth fell out. There was a lot
you remember
of wind.
waking up in Threshers? Don't you? Remember that?
So, it was Hexham.
It was Hexham.
And what sort of a campsite? Was it tents or caravans?
It was, no, dormitories, wooden.
Yeah.
It's coming back, wow. Yeah. It's amazing. And it was for gifted children for the summer.
Is that what they told you, Bob?
Yes. There are people there, interesting people with different gifts.
What was your gift?
And they were allowed to bring a friend?
There was... So there was people who were good at pottery, people good at art, people who were gifted at fencing, or...
We're all very curious to know, Bob. What were you good at?
I was there because of my special abilities at football.
And the camp wasn't just for children who were good at football, it was for children who were good at a wide range of things.
Gifted children.
Right.
So you were proposed by the school or the local authority. It was huts in a pine forest, a place where you could canoe, a place where you could pot. Yeah.
All boys?
All boys in my dorm, yeah.
Do you remember any of them?
I was with Pork Chops Johnson. He was called that because he has a very thick layer of fat across his back. Because this is a criminal enterprise, I'm not using their real name.
Oh, of course, yeah. Was it Lamb Chop Jenkins?
Lamb Chop Jenkins, he just had a thin bone. So, and there was the mole.
The mole?
The mole, they're the two people that I carried out the heist with.
Why did you decide to do this heist?
Well, it was the evening.
Yeah.
And the nights had gotten quite long. It was a summer camp.
Winter was drawing in. For some reason, the gifted children hadn't been picked up. They were being left there to fend for themselves. See if among their gifts are foraging and surviving the cold.
Well, never a better equipped group of people to be abandoned. We had archers, potters, fencers.
Footballers, those are the key things you need. We can sort out the archery and the football, then we have a civilization.
So, it was evening.
Yeah.
And there was a tuck shop there. Well, it was one of the huts. What we noticed, right, was that the tuck shop was on a slope, right? So there's an angle created, yeah? It's at an angle, I'm not very good at it. Say if a duck went quack. Yeah. But not as the angle if it went fox! But about that, so we had this, so it had an end that was raised, and they'd filled that in with stones and soil. Right. So we went down there.
Yeah. Oh, what happened?
Well, first off, of course, the mole removed the stones. And then Pork Chop Johnson, he slid in, and with that magnificent back...
I would have thought he's the last person to be sliding through on. The man with the biggest back.
Above him is floorboards. Bang!
Oh, you mean he used his back to get the floorboards up?
Yeah, got one up. Then,
is that when Smallhead Bob went through?
So he gets in.
He gets in. We heard an engine start up, so I gave out the cry, a warning. Whiffle.
What? Whiffle. Does that mean?
Go. Right. We went.
Yeah. So you heard somebody. So did you get anything?
Yes.
What did you get? What did you get?
A box of cereal.
One packet of cereal.
What did you do with it after?
Well, we ate it in the dorm with everyone in the dorm.
Oh, with everybody in the dorm.
Did you eat it dry?
Yes. Well, we put a bit of urine on it. Yes. We tried.
What do you think, David?
My instinct is it's not true, but it could be true. I mean, it's Bob.
I don't think it happened.
So you think it's a lie?
I'm going to go with Sue. I like the story, but I think it's a lie.
I think we're going to go lie.
You're going to say lie?
I'm braced. I'm braced for an odd experience.
So, Bob, was it the truth or was it a lie?
I was telling the truth. My first taste of fame was when the local newspaper dubbed me the Cockroach King.
David's team.
What was the newspaper?
My local. It was called the South London Press.
So, are you from South London?
I was in the lead-up to the headline, The Cockroach King.
While were you in the public eye doing what?
I was a solicitor at the time, and I sued the local authority because of cockroach infestations in the council houses. Yes! That's what I did.
And of course, it was that kind of style in court that won the day.
We settled outside of court, actually. But I had to change the names because these are real legal proceedings that we're talking about.
Right. Well, why does the fact that it's real legal proceedings mean you have to change the names?
Because I don't think it's fair to say that, let's say she's called Barbara Lighthouse. Lived in the horror of cockroach infestation.
Were you representing Barbara Lighthouse?
I was, yes.
She'd engaged your services?
She's engaged my services. I visited her property.
Must have been ages to get to the top.
There were Egyptian cockroaches. So I had an idea, right? I said, I bet this is bad for your mental health, living with cockroaches. And I took them to the magistrate's court on a private criminal prosecution under the Public Health Act.
Why are you counting every letter in the sentence? Are you working out how much to charge her?
You mentioned the Egyptian cockroach.
The Egyptian cockroach,
How
yeah.
many? I wasn't aware there were different types.
They live in the concrete, and they can actually live off the concrete that the buildings are made
So,
of.
so
Eat
Bob,
the
Bob, hold it.
concrete?
Yep.
Bob, they got some hard cockroaches. They live in the concrete.
They nip out to go behind the fridge or the cooker, or to turn the light out.
What were the size of these Egyptian cockroaches?
They're long and thin, slip right in.
That's my profile on Tinder.
It is odd the Cockroach King would suggest a champion of the cockroach rather than an opponent.
Or in fact, their leader.
Yes.
Did you lead the cockroaches away like the Pied Piper?
No, I didn't. What happened is I got an expert from the University of Cambridge called Broccoli High Kicks. Again, I've changed his name. His brief from me was, can you in any way argue that this is contrary to public health? He confirmed it, went to court. It's all coming ever so clear now. We went to court, yeah. Ronnie Omlets was the housing officer.
The weird thing is you haven't changed his name, have you?
And what was she called? Barbara Lighthouse. Barbara Lighthouse brought a clear jar of the cockroaches with her and poured them over Ronnie Omlets. Right? Of course, he was very frightened, didn't know what to do, at which point Barbara Lighthouse said, I think I've made my point, you know, to the housing officer.
Yeah.
This is what I live with. So the council agreed to rehouse. Next day, the Cockroach King.
Right, what's he going to say, Dave? What do you think?
It's that bizarre that only Bob could make it up, so I think that's true.
That doesn't make sense. If you're saying only Bob could make it up, then he could have made it up.
No, only Bob can make it up like that.
Right.
So convincing.
Yeah. So we're in trouble, aren't we? Because you're saying that if anyone else had said it, it would definitely be true because they couldn't have invented it. The one person who's saying it is also coincidentally the only human who could also have invented it.
Yes.
What a terrible set of circumstances. You think it's true? Do you think it's true?
Yes, let's say it's true.
We're going to go true.
OK. Now, Bob, truth or lie?
I was telling the truth. As a teenager, I used to terrorise my neighbourhood with a game I invented called Theft and Shrubbery.
What were the rules of theft and shrubbery?
Can I first of all say my memories of this are a bit sketchy?
Always handy for this game.
No, but I'm an older gentleman. They're more like just fingerprints on an abandoned handrail.
Even while you poetically describe the ageing process, another part of your brain is inventing the rules of a fictional game.
It's Theft and Shrubbery. Yeah. It's a game that I played in my youth, in my teens, on the Lakes estate in Middlesbrough. I would probably be 14 or 15. I hope that's all the information you need.
As to what this game involved.
Yes, of course.
Of course. In which case, I'm satisfied and there's no need to tell me. What were the rules?
There would have to be a gang of you. I would usually be with Staver and Bagger.
Well, I didn't realise you knew hobbits as a child.
Neil Overall, Jerry Dungaree's son, of course.
Didn't take his father's name.
Hated him. So, and Gary Cheeseman would be there. The reason he was called Cheesy is because his mum used to give him a cheese. Do you know the cheese slice?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To take out with him when we were hanging around the shops and that, because she thought it was good for his spots. She wanted to personally slice.
Surely it's because of his surname Cheeseman.
No. That's the thing.
Surely that was part of it.
Do you know, Gary Cheeseman was a big lad, yeah? A very big head. Sniper's dream, they used to call him. Oh, he's such a nice... The thing is, he's such a nice lad. And he was a...
I love these points in the show where we say, Bob, let's all gather round the fireside and you can tell us tales of your youth.
So the rules of the game, of course you will know. The rules of the game. Theft and...
Shrubbery.
Were relatively simple. You had to creep into the back of someone's house and observe the family watching the telly or whatever they're doing, yeah?
It's getting a bit sinister now, Bob.
Yeah, I know.
Is this at night?
This is on the evening time, yeah.
So the family, as it were, backlit by the domestic lighting?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then you'd find one where the curtains were open, yeah? Go to the rear of the garden and then you'd slowly walk towards the window, right? Try not to disturb them, and you'd chant, increasing the volume as you went, "We do beg your pardon. But we are in your garden." And then you gradually get closer and closer to the window, and as soon as you were seen, that's when Shrubbery comes in.
Which was what?
You were not allowed to escape via the front of the property. You had to go across all the fences. Because you're teenage, what you're really waiting for is someone to make a noise or give yourself away, so that you all have to go run through all the gardens.
That's the shrubbery part.
That's the shrubbery
What's
part.
the theft part?
The theft is... We just always felt that we were stealing something from them. I don't know. Their privacy, their dignity.
So you're going up the garden saying louder and louder, "We do beg your pardon, we are in your garden." We do beg your pardon, we are in your garden. You're shouting.
How loud would you
elderly
get?
people who are hard of hearing, you could be going, "We do beg your pardon, we are in your garden," before they notice it.
Yeah.
This game can't have lasted, I'm imagining, very long before people kind of rumbled you and...
No, it was just one of the games, that we did. It could be Theft and Shrubbery night. There was another night where we used to take fruit from a fruit vendor's wagon and throw that up in the air and just let it drop on our heads.
Something tells me you played that quite a lot, Bob. Next time, don't use melons.
Cheeseman was very good at it.
So what do you think, David?
Steve, what do you
My
think?
concern is that the details are so utterly believable and sound like they're real that if it wasn't actually a game, he spent an awful lot of time looking through people's windows.
I'm coming down on the side of truth.
Yeah, I know it sounds odd, but I just believe it.
You're going to say true? Yeah. OK, so theft and shrubbery. Bob, truth or lie?
I was telling the truth. I once set fire to my house with a box of fireworks.
David Mitchell's team.
Was this on purpose?
It was done out of ignorance.
What age were you?
I was somewhere round about 7.
I want to know where you grew up, where a 7-year-old can buy a box of fireworks.
I bought them in the shop near where I lived in Middlesbrough. It was a box for 2 and 6 of Standard fireworks. That was the brand.
Standard brand. That sounds exciting. Standard fireworks. Yeah. A normal level of excitement will be endangered. Yeah. For a bonfire night, you will forget.
But it says standard, but then it's...
Well, that is standard for a firework.
Yeah.
So you're in your home, and you're 7 or 8 years old.
I'm 7 and I'm on my own, yeah.
On your own?
Yeah, and
what
on one of the fireworks, I think it was the sparklers, it said, not suitable for indoor use. Which, at that age, makes you think, that means they're OK.
Could you just not read the word not when you were being...
Did you think not was the brand? You go, oh, lovely, I love that not brand food. It's not for human consumption.
No, that logic that says, well, people have obviously tried them indoors.
I've discovered they're not suitable.
Yeah.
So therefore, I won't use them indoors because I want to live.
If you look at a big firework, it won't say not suitable for indoors. It's obvious.
Yeah. Right.
But on the sparklers, they chose to put it on.
So what happened?
I lit the sparkler. The sparks went into the box of fireworks, a standard box, and set them off. And I carried the box of fireworks, now beginning to light, into the kitchen, and I threw them into the kitchen. I thought it would be more suitable.
I think you're right. The kitchen, of all the rooms, is the most suitable for fireworks, isn't it?
Because of the oven, the gas, the stove. There is fire naturally in the kitchen.
Yeah, there's a lot of... And it's more wipe down.
Yes.
Less cloth.
So what happened then?
They went off in the
What was the sound like? Was it bing, wee?
No, these were only standard. And, you know, I remember, as I'm sat here now, wiping the scorch marks off the floor and thinking that my mum's going to kill me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be in big trouble. Then I went back into the living room. Unbeknownst to me, I dropped one. And the living room was completely engulfed in flames.
It sounds to me that if you're on your own at home at 7, your mum's pretty laid back anyway.
She said, son, will you sit here and look after these fireworks? Whilst I go out to the bingo.
So, you lit the sparkler. A spark went into the standard box.
Yes.
The box starts to go... You go, uh-oh, I must get them into the most suitable room for fireworks.
Yes.
The kitchen. No need to go beyond the kitchen to the outdoors.
Yeah. Mum said don't go out.
It's good to know there was at least one rule in your house.
What time of day did all this happen?
This happened mid-afternoon.
Oh, dear, so you didn't really get the benefit of it.
Who put the fire out?
I went to next door where Miss Best lived. She was, bless her, she was about 80. And I knocked on their door and said, my house is on fire. And she said, do you know, I thought it was.
So what happened then?
She called the fire brigade. They fired their water hoses throughout the house.
Yes.
Ruining it.
Even the rooms where there's no fire.
Not ruining it.
Yeah.
You do know that before they put out fires, it's already ruined, don't you?
Lee.
You're making this house all wet. It was lovely and warm before.
And it's the water damage that knackers the house.
Is it? Not the fire?
Not the fire. If they would use their boots to put it out. Honestly, the entire house, that's it. I was in a family of 4 children, and we were homeless.
Where...
Come on, keep it light.
No, I'm just saying.
Where were all the other kids while you were alone with the fire? Why did you take 3
They
children
were looking
out
after
and leave
fireworks in other people's houses.
So when you say you were homeless, how much of the house did the inferno claim?
It's gone. Entire
It's
house
what, the
gone.
whole
house gone. Yeah.
The whole house burnt down?
Burnt down.
So how much did you leave in the living room?
The fireworks in the kitchen have only caused a few scorches.
Yeah.
What did you leave in the living room?
And now, don't you feel stupid for saying standard fireworks?
Yeah.
I tell
Not
you,
really.
well,
I think you were stupid for lighting a sparkler indoors.
If you don't know what you dropped
Yeah.
in the living room, is there a chance that it's just a coincidence?
No, it could be.
That it might not have been your fault?
That's what I said to the press.
Your fault?
Press? What press? Who did you speak to?
Local press.
Because they came to the house while it was burning?
Yeah, you know, they're their hats on, trilbies, sniffing around.
With those little bits of paper in the
Typewriters.
Were they called things like Scoop McLean?
I believe he was called Ron Waffle.
Sorry, Ron Waffle?
It was either him, the other ace reporter on the Gazette was John Caramel. It was one of them two.
Caramel and Waffle.
Honestly.
The question is whether you think Bob has been telling the truth.
Well, I thought it seemed very plausible until we heard about caramel and waffle.
I think he thinks he's telling the truth, but I think what's happened at some point, he's seen a film in which this has happened.
He saw Backdraft.
And is now convinced that it happened to him. I think it's a lie.
Sarah.
I was going to say I want it to be true, but that sounds really horrible. I think it might be true.
Well, I think it's true. I think it's true.
So you're going to go for true?
Yeah.
OK, Bob, were you telling the truth or were you telling a lie?
I was telling the truth.
Oh.
Yes, it's true. Bob once set fire to his house with a box of fireworks.